Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and today it is time for a professional match of Protoss versus Zerg. Spawning here in the northwest corner of Year 0 LE and playing with the blue Zerg drones. He's from Germany. We have none other than Lambo. And his opponent in the northeastern corner playing with the red Protoss probes from France. We're looking inside of the main base of PtitDrogo. So here we go. Year 0 LE. Now for those of you that have been watching this channel for a little while, you know that this map has very quickly become one of my personal favorites. It seems to be one of those maps that really goes to the extremes. Oftentimes, for example, at the highest level of play, we see this game, or this map rather, turn into an absolutely ridiculous macro game. The thing is, if you were to like draw a vertical line, right, between the watchtowers on the map, in this case, it's relatively easy for the Protoss to take the eastern side of the map and for Zerg to go ahead and take the western side. So on the one hand, we do see some ridiculous macro games with the one that immediately comes to mind for me is gonna be Serral versus Sue at IEM Katowice recently. A ridiculous game on Year 0 that I highly recommend you go ahead and check out. But regardless, on the flip side, this map also allows for some ridiculous cheese. Both Protoss and Zerg do have mechanics in the game that allow them to transport units pretty quickly towards the other side of the map. Of course, Protoss, they have Warp Prisms, they can get a lot of work done with those, and oftentimes, since it is such a macro-focused map, Zerg players may opt to play just a little bit too greedy. But on the flip side, of course, you also have Zerg who can go ahead and use the Nydus worm that has become really popular over the last couple of months. And even though it did recently get nerfed, it still is certainly a strategy that Protoss players are struggling with. So we'll see where this game is going to take us. I have seen very few boring games on this map. Let's just leave it at that, okay? I've seen very few just like standard 2-base pushes or standard 3-base pushes. Usually this is the map where the games do get a little bit crazy, and I like seeing that. Anyways, quick expansion right here for Drogo on the low ground and nothing out of the ordinary. Now with the Cybercore finishing up, we should be able to see what kind of tech he wants to go for here in just a little bit. But judging by the fact he's delaying Warp Gate, indeed, I figured it was likely going to be a Stargate opener. Usually, if players want to go Twilight Council or Robotic Facility quickly, they will also start up their Warp Gate research immediately. And even though Lambo did not confirm that there is a Stargate right now, he should have a pretty decent understanding of what is going on. Lambo, though, a little bit late right here on this third base, not going for the build order that a lot of Zerg players have actually been favoring lately. He decided to go for the quick Zergling speed just to make sure he's going to be safe, then planted down the third base over here in not his preferred location, because apparently a pesky Protoss probe decided to be a nuisance, and it forced down a pylon right over there, which means that now Lambo has to resort to taking a third base where he originally didn't really want to take it. Alright. So it is going to be an Oracle opener right here for Drogo. Oftentimes we see players going up to one Phoenix and then one Oracle, or one Oracle and then one Phoenix. We'll see if he wants to transition into something else in just a little bit. Lambo doesn't have any Spore Crawlers coming up just yet. Usually they get put down at about the 3.5 or so minute mark. So we should be seeing those coming up here any second right now. The thing is though, on this map with proper chrono boosts, and when you do delay your Warp Gate research, it is actually possible to get your oracles on the other side of the map pretty quick. Even though there's a long rush distance, right, between the naturals on this map, the air-to-air distance is not too crazy. And actually, there's still no spores. I guess he does have 3 queens, so as long as he manages to get the queens together. Maybe Lambo is assuming this is actually a bit of a different build, but he will soon find out as the Oracle is currently making its way towards the main base. Drones are indeed going to be pulled off the mineral line here, which is going to hurt quite a bit. A couple drones already picked up. A really good target firing right there by Drogo. 3 drone losses right there in total. Definitely manageable, but ideally you don't really lose anything, because right now you're essentially still forced to put down a Spore Crawler anyway. So that's 3 basically useless spores, although in the grand scheme of things, it shouldn't really make that much of a difference. Now, I like this, though. Drogo going up to 3 oracles right now. This is something that we don't see all too often. 3 oracles at this point in the game is actually rather a high amount, right? We usually see this happening when Protoss players want to build up towards a quick third base, and I think that's exactly what Drogo is doing. There we go. 4.5 minutes or so, third Nexus. Normally we see that one going down maybe 30 seconds to maybe a minute or so later. So I guess he wants to use these oracles for harassment, but also if he needs to, for base defense here instead. With this many queens, though, yeah, oracles are not really going to be able to achieve that much. Keep in mind, all of their basic attacks cost spell energy, or it costs energy, rather, so they essentially aren't going to be able to just continuously use their beams anyway. And with one of them being relatively low, and it also costing energy to actually activate the ability there, I think Drogo is going to be... he's going to probably be relatively conservative right here with his oracle play in general. Oof. Keeping all 3 of them alive there, but actually in total, he ended up killing 10 drones, which is exactly what Protoss players are looking for. So great opener here for Drogo. Certainly going to have to put this in his favor. Now what is this? Lambo going up towards a really quick lair. Now we see the Roach Warren coming up, but then a really quick infestation pit. So he could go for, I don't know, a quick hive? Could be going for, I guess, infestors. Could be going for swarm hosts as well. Although swarm hosts usually are produced a little bit later on into the game, after Zerg opens up with at least a couple of roaches. Nice snipe right there by the queens. We'll see what he wants to do. Normally we see the Roach Warren going down first, then a round of roaches at about 66 drones, and then we see the swarm host production. A Nydus network right now also coming up here for Lambo. Swarm host. I think he's gonna go for swarm hosts in a Nydus worm? I mean, there's a lot of Zerglings situated all over the map, so I guess he has vision everywhere to put down those Nydus worms with ease. Does Drogo know about this right now? No, he hasn't checked out the natural in quite some time. Still being a nuisance, by the way, with these oracles. I love this, actually. Really cool stuff. 17 drones in total. That's insane. Hallucinated Phoenix right now, though, should confirm exactly what is going on the Zerg side of things. And now with the swarm host being spotted here as well, the Nydus network should also be spotted in just a second. I think that Drogo knows exactly what is going on. Immediately, a Nydus worm, though, does pop up here on the left-hand side of the main base. Oracles don't have a lot of energy anymore, but I guess it's going to be enough to at the very least get rid, of course, of that Nydus worm. But this is only the first one. Immediately, we see another Nydus worm popping up a little bit further away. Obviously, this third base here is quite vulnerable, but Drogo has been able to go up to actually a superior economy here for basically free. Keep in mind, Drogo still has that Stargate as well, so I think actually just producing a couple of Stargate units might not be a terrible idea if you know that it's going to be primarily swarm hosts. The Nydus worm right there does get scouted. That's the third one, though, and here come the locusts. And immediately, once the locusts are flying across the map, we do see once more those units popping back into the safety of that Nydus worm. More and more worms are going up. Now, Drogo should be able to shut that one down with ease as well, but still a bunch of damage has already been dealt. And this is where this kind of build is actually really, really scary. These locusts, right? The more waves they get in, the more potential they are going to have as well. Now, keep in mind, they are extremely supply heavy, so the longer that this goes on here, well, another one of those stalkers ends up falling there, but the longer that this goes on, the harder this is going to be for Drogo to deal with as well. But as long as Drogo manages to get up to a decent amount of army supply, he should be okay. Usually what I found, and once again, we see a, what was that? There we go. A recall towards the base. And actually, ooh! Oh man, that was close. The Nydus worm right there was killed. Immediately, the swarmers do decide to pop back in. But as long as Drogo manages to go up to, like, I would say 100 plus army supply, he's gonna be in a great spot. Now, you can check that out right here at the bottom of the screen. He's currently at 53 army supply, which is not enough. And we see more and more swarmers coming up. The thing about swarmers, though, is that they are extremely supply heavy, right? So 161 supply here for Zerg, or 106 army supply, is certainly something that is impressive. But it is not to be overestimated, I suppose. It's very easy to look at that and think Zerg is extremely far ahead. Swarmers just simply soak up a lot of supply, and they aren't very good when their locusts are on cooldown. Now, speaking of locusts, once again, only half of them or so get activated there. We see the locusts activating once more. Half of them are gonna head towards the main base. At the same time, though, we see Lambo struggling to deal with a whole lot of zealots right here that are dropped with that one Warp Prism inside of the main base. Man, this is gonna be a chaotic game. Look at the amount of spine crawlers right now being constructed as well. Lambo recognizes, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have a really hard time dealing with these charge slots. And now, of course, while he's preoccupied at his third base, I guess that's also when at least some of that swarm host aggression will be shut down. Great snipes right here on the Nydus worm so far, but this buys a lot of time. Third hatchery ends up falling, and this is that time that Drogo needs, right? As long as he manages to get a bunch of army supply out right now on his side of the map, he should be okay. And as long as it's gonna be like Archons and Immortals, he should be in a phenomenal spot. Once again, though, the Locusts are ready to fly The third base is actually very vulnerable right now. That's so many swarm hosts, though. 26 swarm hosts. Well, goodbye with your Archon at the very least right over there. The one on the right-hand side will also be picked off. And that's the thing about these swarm hosts, man. They get so much value, although I have to say, I love this Warp Prism play here by Drogo. If that prism wasn't there, he would be in a world of hurt. Both players using their very quick transports to try and deal maximum amount of damage. And I actually don't really mind this situation here for Drogo. Once again, big Zealot warp in the natural. Sure, Roaches are pretty good against Zealots, but they don't really have a lot of good upgrades. They're not really going to be able to achieve that much. And Charge is always going to be one of those problems you have to deal with. Lambo is close to maxing out as well. He needs to be very cautious with where he's actually going to spend that last little bit of supply. Only 41 drones right now remain for Lambo. So it looks like he's going for an army composition that is do or die, right? He doesn't really plan on transitioning here. He does have, I guess, a newly acquired third, but that one will also be picked up. So essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is a two-base push. Now, I love this. Dark Templar right now coming up for Drogo. I did see the Dark Shrine on the production tab, but I figured that was mostly just going to be for some Archon production as well. But no, he decides to warp in a couple of those dank Templar, and with that, all of a sudden, Zerg has been pushed back to just a single base economy. Still, the swarm hosts are alive, and they are scary. The ground army of Protoss, where'd it go? Yeah, there's really not that much. Oh my god, there's actually very, very little. Drogo ended up losing quite a lot of those very valuable Archons. Third base is still up and alive, but I love this. Okay, the Void Ray is now added to the mix. Having a Void Ray here is really big, and then also a couple of defensive Dark Templar. At the very least, you could use them defensively. They should be able to start nipping away right here at all of those Zerg units as well. Here we go, though. The Locust once again dropped down over at the third base location. Prism taking an awful lot of damage. The probes all decided to run over towards what could be a fourth base a little while later. And Drogo picking up all of those weakened Dark Templar just barely in the nick of time. I think most of the queens are actually gone right now. Drogo decides to start long distance mining over at the fourth base, and this match is absolute chaos. This is buying Lambo a little bit of time, though, to once again grab himself another expansion. But while this is all going on, right, Drogo has been happily mining two bases, but those two bases are gonna run out of resources as well. Both players, essentially, for all intents and purposes right now, are pushed back to extremely low economies for at least a 12-minute Zerg versus Protoss, and that's kind of where these Locust waves can absolutely be a disaster. I love the addition right now of the one Phoenix here as well. The Phoenix lifting up the queens. Oh, and here we go. Those Locusts, they deal a ridiculous amount of damage, and the third Nexus falls immediately. And on their way out, apparently a couple of probes also do get picked off. At the same time, Prism once again brought a couple of Zealots across the map. We see one Dark Templar apparently leading the charge there as well, and that one does not get spotted just yet, so it's going to be able to slice and dice for a little while longer. The Swarm Hosts, they have been worth their weight in gold, but the question is, have they done enough? Because Lambo sacrificed a lot of economy to try and make this work, right? And right now, we see continuous Void Ray production. There's two of them available right here, primarily just for base defense right now, but it's still only two hatcheries here for Lambo, and all of this is going to run out very quickly. He doesn't have great anti-air. Once again, one of the Void Rays manages to get a pretty good spot. Apparently, he decided to bring drones across to go for Spore Crawlers to defend against this kind of thing instead. I kind of like it. Keep in mind, there's not a lot of mining anymore here for Protoss either. The cost efficiency certainly is in favor right now of the Zerg player with another one of those Locust waves coming up. Still, though, a lot of drones end up going down right there to that one Dark Templar who now has picked up 19 kills in total. It will go down, but not without dealing a very significant amount of damage. Once again, those Zealots warp in. And they end up dealing so much damage. Roaches and Ravagers now have to make the walk of shame all the way back towards the natural. And right now, oof, those Oracles, man. I mean, I was saying how the Swarmos were worth their weight in gold, right? These Oracles have still been going to town, and now with some really juicy Psionic Storms, Lambo is having a hard time making his way home with those Swarm Hosts. Drogo, in an extremely chaotic game, managed to keep his head cool and use the Warp Prism right there to deal a ridiculous amount of counter damage, while also simultaneously defending against one of the scariest units in the game. What an awesome match. That was really cool. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, I mean, I know you did if you made it all the way until the end of this video. If you like StarCraft, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more of these videos as well, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you get notifications as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your generosity. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. And I will see you once again in the next one.